So I went out and found some data that I figured might interest you guys a little bit more than regular data. And this is where spreadsheets get powerful. When you can make some charts that show what you're saying is actually true, it makes it very hard for somebody to argue with them. By the end of this assignment, which we have through tomorrow to get done, actually it's through Friday, to get done, you're going to be able to present some information straight up. And you can go on websites and pull this data. I literally pulled this from a website. I only took the top 25 because after that they wanted me to pay. And I don't want to pay. I just wanted that data. You can go on there and get all this data and statistics and then analyze it yourself. So we've got some good stuff, right? And I know y'all are looking. Everybody's season 2023, that's all that's in here. That's why, obviously, where I got this from, you could get data from previous seasons. You can see how they rose and fell and whatever. And we're going to make charts. The first chart we're going to make is we're going to let Google do most of the work for us. So when you're getting ready to make charts, it's important to tell Google what you want to chart. So we're going to select the all cell. I can actually make a chart just by hitting charts, and Google will come up with something. It will come up with something. So I'm going to go up here to insert chart, and Google is going to create a chart. It's going to take that information itself and create a chart. And it's not horrible. Most of you should be looking at the same chart. The analysis is pretty straightforward until you start doing some stuff. Okay, I didn't say change that. Click the all cell now. Go up top. Go insert chart. Okay, it takes a moment for it to think. So I did protect this sheet. If you try and make changes to this sheet, it will give you a warning. I've had a lot of people deleting stuff, so it'll give you a warning before you can change something. So it's not terrible, but it's not awesome. So very first thing is, I really dislike the small things. So I'm going to click that skinny snowman or stop light if you want, and I'm going to move chart to its own sheet. Move chart to own sheet. It'll actually stick it on its own sheet, which is much better than it was before, right? And we're going to name this one stats chart. So down here at the bottom, we're going to call this stats chart. S-T-A-T-S chart. S-T-A-T-S chart. Now, if you'll notice, there is a lot of data that doesn't really portray well, and it's really small and hard to see, right? Right now, you wouldn't convince much of anything because they just blow by it. So let's make some changes to our chart. And the great thing about this is I can actually go edit chart right here. So I'm going to hit edit chart, and I get some options to the side. Remember what I said? Google will attempt to make a cool chart, but it's not always cool. So over here, first thing you'll see is the chart type. If you click that, it'll give you a bunch of options. Try some of the different ones and see what they look like. Yeah, some of them don't work well. If you try the history of this, it won't work well, right? The geo chart. Some of them don't work well, and they depend on the data type. Some work better than others. You try a couple of different ones, you get some different views. Everyone try a couple different charts? What we're going to go to is the second column chart, which is called stacked column chart. So we're going to select the stacked column chart. And it's going to give us something that looks like this. Stacked column chart. It's the middle one in the stacks. So right now, I do notice that there's one thing in there that I really don't like. If you look, everyone's the same season, right? It took 2023 and said, oh, that's data, but it's really not. Are you out there with us, Jonah? So it's really not good data. So let's go down here to where you'll see down series. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see different series that are actually our numbers, right? It tells us that the data in that column was a number. Can you see that? If the data was text, let's do right click on the season, on that little skinny snowman, and just remove. And that pulls that data out there because that data really is everyone's season. Did you get that out? Did you get that out? Yep. Okay, there's a season. Look at the skinny snowman on the side. So it took season as data, and it wasn't really data. You guys get that? And once we get it, the picture gets better, right? You start getting a better picture for some of your people. So the first setup tab allows you to pick your chart. The stacking is weird. If you play around with stacking, you'll find that it kind of makes weird stuff, which is not super helpful. Does that make sense? It works in some things. I'm going to go no stack. Oops. I changed my chart, didn't I? Standard stacking, sorry. Without stack, you can get the none thing and end up with, I like big square bars, honestly. I don't like little thin rails. They're very hard for me. So now it's pretty straightforward. I've got some axes. I've got all this. We're not going to aggregate. We'll do that in the future. Aggregate is a great button if you're taking stuff and putting it together. Later on, when you're doing the exercises, you're going to get to an exercise where they talk about total yards. Well, Cincinnati has more than one quarterback. So when you aggregate, you'll suddenly see that Cincinnati has a lot more yards than it appears initially. Does that make sense? So later on, you will press this aggregate button. Aggregate combines things that are like terms. So across the bottom, if I had the same quarterback twice and I hit aggregate, it would stick both sets of stats together. Does that make sense? Make sense, y'all? So right now, we're not going to hit, but that is like one of the most important buttons on this. Let's go to the Customize tab. Customize lets us make our chart a little more what we want it to be. So first thing is chart style. Chart style is all that graphic. I do not like white backgrounds. They work, if you're making a paper in science and you're putting this chart inside a paper that's going to be printed on white paper, a white background is great because it makes it fade in. I'm not. I'm going to give it a little background color. I'm going to go for a gray. Did you click chart style? The background color, I'm going to give mine a gray. I could also change my font if I cared. I think these are all running straight up default Arial, which is fine. But I could, if I cared, I could change my font. I can change the border color. So you could put a color around your thing. It really won't impact here because this is a full sheet. Does that make sense? What's on? Yeah, I'm getting there because I like that one. So I could change border color, but it really doesn't affect anything. And just a gray. Okay, here. I'm just going to gray right now. You got a gray background yet? Yeah, we're getting down to that button. Everyone saw that button. Now you can press the maximize button, and what it'll do is it'll move everything on your chart to fill the whole picture. So again, if I'm putting this on a science paper, maximize is great because I just want the whole picture I want. But maximize for me is a little hard to read on this, so I'm going to take it out of that. I am going to put it in 3D. I love 3D. 3D makes the chart kind of feel more live. Okay, let's stay to this conversation. Okay, now let's go down to chart and axis titles. It is the next major section. Once you click on one section, it closes the other. So we're going to chart and axis tiles. Chart and axis titles, click on that. We got chart title. Let's give it a title. We're going to call this Top 25 Quarterbacks. Now, again, that's debatable. I would probably say there probably on for the top 25. That's by their analysis and not mine. It's off this website. So now we're going to make the title color, instead of just regular, we're going to actually make the title color black. Like title text color, we're going to make it black, not auto. And we're going to align it, which is, you guys recognize these buttons from all the other stuff, right? So the alignment, we're going to center align that because it looks better there. I could also, if I just desperately wanted to, I could change the font size. So if I really wanted this to stand out, I could make the font size bigger or smaller. If you get your phone out again, I keep it.
Whoa.
Is that you just in your phone?
My mom.
Okay, again, put the phone in your backpack. Okay. Let's go down and do one. We've done titles. It's looking pretty good. The one thing I really want to fix on this, and as we go, I'll be using different ones of these. Some of them I don't use a lot. They're nifty. And as you play, like I won't do axis and verticals. I won't do that stuff. Let's go to grid lines and ticks. Grid lines and ticks are all these lines that go across it both ways. So I'm going to change the major grid lines box. So we're going to click the major grid lines. Where am I at here? It's already clicked on mine. You guys all got it clicked? Okay. Major grid lines. We're going to change the color to dark blue. A dark blue. You pick a blue. I generally, when I'm doing colors, if you haven't noticed, I don't get to the specific because some people like one and the other as long as we're in there. Then we're going to click the major tick box, and that's going to give us some ticks over here. You'll see that now we've got a scale that we can see the numbers really well. Click the major tick box, and I'm going to click the minor tick box. Major and minor. And you'll notice over here what I got was I got big ticks, and it really stood out so you can see where we're talking stuff. Let's do some real magic. You ready to do some magic? Let's go back to our all stats data. So let's go back to our data. And I want to go back. Let's sort the data by yards. So data, sort range, advanced. We've got a header row. And let's pick yards. I don't want A to Z. That would give me the least. Actually, let's go A to Z. What the heck? A to Z, we'll give it the least. So let's start.
Heads up.
Heads up. And I'm okay with that.
I'll put it on there for 5 minutes.
Okay. Now go look at your chart again.
Mine shows color.
I could have swore Jared Goff.
Who is Tua Tagovailoa?
So, did you notice how the data moved as we manipulated the data on the sheet? The spreadsheet changed. So you can change that spreadsheet based on manipulating data. You could also, because these off to the right, these are everything that's being measured, right? So you could move things away, like you could just remove everything except attempts and completions, and you get that picture. You could move everything away except yards, and it would change your picture. Does that make sense? It allows you to manipulate that data. For those of you who are thinking your quarterbacks, whoever's a Dolphins fan in here wants to go in your face. But
I don't see the boundary.
Any questions on how to do this? We're going to do that. You're going to make copies. Probably the thing we haven't done yet is you're going to make copies of all stats. So if you guys go down here to that and duplicate it, duplicate your all stats. And then you're going to pick up that tab and move it to the end. Do you see how we're doing that? Everyone good? So that's the only thing we haven't done is move tabs around. So the exercise is going to have you making 2 more charts. Now, our project after spring break will look very similar to this.